So this week, President Uhuru Kenyatta commended police officers in the country for being firm during the electioneering period, saying the officers deployed during the period discharged their duty professionally and in accordance with the law. Civil societies and the opposition, NASA, do not agree. In fact, NASA leader Raila Odinga now says Kenyans are living in a police state. President Uhuru Kenyatta says the electioneering period is over and Kenya should move on. He says he will be the president of those who voted for him and those who did not. And they will incorporate ideas of development of those who did not vote for him. Well, that conciliatory tone is not working for opposition coalition NASA. Its leader, Raila Odinga, says he will be sworn in as president on the 12th day of December. That also doubles up as Jamhuri Day. Raila says he is not a coward and he is the legitimate president. NASA has moved its agitation plans for electoral reforms a notch higher by naming a team to run the People's Assembly National Steering Committee. So, welcome to Crossfire. In a few minutes, I'll be introducing the guest that we'll be having a conversation here in studio with. But before we get there, I'd like us to take a look at a story that was done by Duncan Haemba on President Uhuru Kenyatta commending police officers for being, quote-unquote, firm during the electioneering period. Let's listen in.
The congratulation from the Commander-in-Chief to the police for a job well done comes at a time there is hue and cry over the manner in which the police have handled protesting opposition supporters. Some estimates put the number of those killed by police at over 100. Have the police been deliberate in their actions? Take a look. This is Likoni and Jogoo Road's roundabout. Police officers taking positions as they attack NASA convoy Friday 17th November as Raila Odinga returned from the US. The white Range Rover in front is carrying NASA leader Raila Odinga with no protesters in sight. As the convoy approaches the Railways Club, more police officers engage in stoning the vehicles. Several people were shot dead on this particular day, at least 4 along Jogoo Road up to Machakos Country Bus. This is Manyanja Road, Soweto roundabout. NASA supporters accompanied by their leaders arrive, conveniently singing in praise of police officers, pledging not to cause trouble. But as soon as NASA leaders begin addressing, another contingent of police officers who had sealed off entry to Jacaranda grounds arrive and immediately fires to disperse the rally. As per their script, they embark on damaging vehicles as they clobber NASA supporters as leaders scamper for their safety. Some officers firing live bullets without aiming. Having stormed residential areas, anyone on site must get a dosage of law enforcement. Female officers seem to be a bit compassionate. When the chips finally fall into place, it's time to quench thirst. In his message of commendation for excellent coverage, Director of Operations, Kenya Police Headquarters, Benson Kibui says, "I have been directed by His Excellency the President to convey his commendation to officers of all ranks involved at various stages of the 2017 general election for the high degree of professionalism and dedication to duty displayed during the entire period." Duncan Hemba, KTN News.
So, like I mentioned, this is Crossfire. Let's have a conversation in studio. We have Odoyo Wide, who's a political analyst. For purposes of this conversation, we will also be having Ambrose Wede. He's still trying to figure out his way here from the airport. We are hoping to also speak to Kakai Kessinger, who is a lawyer and a political analyst as well, just to get his insight as we wait for Ambrose Wede in a couple of minutes. So, Odoyo, you're in studio with me, so I'll begin with you. So the president is commending police officers for being firm during the electioneering period. What are your thoughts?
You know, first of all, Linda, it is very difficult for political analysts to be objective in a situation like this. If you notice from the news we have just watched, the NASA supporters were being beaten on their way from the airport. And the bone of contention between the police and the NASA supporters was their going to the airport. If they now find themselves at the airport, they should have been left to come back to town in peace.
Despite the fact that the police made it clear that the airport is a no-go zone.
It's no-go zone. Because it sounded now like the police now is meting out punishment on them for having defied them and gone to the airport. I would have expected what I was seeing on Mombasa Road happening as these supporters were finding their way to the airport. But they were being beaten as they were coming back from the airport. It is difficult to explain whether the police wanted them to go back to the airport, stay at the airport, or what did they want? What instructions were they given to do with the NASA supporters?
Okay, so what did you want the police to do?
I wanted the police to watch them as they go back from the airport.
After defying a police order?
The police has no authority anywhere in any part of the law to discipline anyone. It is the courts to do that, unless they wanted to arrest them for having defied them. But you see, when a large contingent of citizens does something, it becomes a riot and it has to be dispersed. That's all. And if it is a peaceful procession, it is allowed in law.
Was that peaceful from where you said?
Yes, when they're coming from the airport, they were peaceful until the police intervened. But also, there are things that you need to note from the videos that we have just watched. The police were beating anyone on sight, including those who were clearly unaware of what was going on. That was very unfortunate.
Okay, so the president says they discharged their duty professionally and according to the law, given the circumstances.
From that, I can only interpret it as being partisan, as being somebody who had sent these police officers to do what they did. But also, I would have expected the president to take note of certain things. One, I expected the president to take note that the police had killed a boy 7 years old, even if he's the one who sent them to do this thing. Even if they acted well, he should have put a statement for the family of that boy, who was definitely innocent, because the boy was killed 5 kilometers away from the site where the police had barred NASA supporters from going. 5 kilometers away, when there were nobody rioting, when there were no stones being thrown, when there was no resistance to the police orders. Okay, so honestly, should have noted that.
Apart from the boy, he's not, unfortunately, he's not the only soul that Kenyans have lost in all this. From the president's commendation to the police, what else would you have liked him to say?
I would have liked the president, even if he were to say what he had said, he should have not missed out to talk about where the police went wrong, where they made the mistakes. Because it was obvious that the president, if he didn't see it on the same day, after some times he must have noticed the police stoning cars with stones. And there was a policeman shouting, "Oa." Was that really necessary? There was also a man just running alongside those vehicles. The police went and beat him. That was unnecessary. Because if you want peace, You need these people to clear the roads as fast as possible. If you engage them in running battles, it takes longer for them to get to their destination. It takes longer for the roads to clear for other road users who had nothing to do with NASA or Jubilee or the police, because other Kenyans wanted to use those roads.
But Owidi, what would that say about the rule of law? I mean, clearly, the police said, guys, we don't want you to go to the airport for security concern. You will not allow you to assemble here because exams are still going on. I mean, the police were giving reasons why they were not allowing NASA supporters either to go to the airport or have their gatherings. Where does that leave the rule of law?
Linda, the scenario here is not what NASA was supposed to do or what they were not supposed to do or what they were supposed to do. It is the action of the police. There is no law in Kenya anywhere that allows the police to punish anyone. If they think somebody has broken the law, he's supposed to be arrested, taken before court, and sentenced accordingly.
Already, this is a mob.
Now, if they were going to disperse the mob, you are supposed to disperse the mob from where they are not supposed to be. The mob was not supposed to be at the airport. If they had left the airport, why were they being stoned?
Where were they?
Why were they being beaten?
They
were going to their homes. And their homes, they must come through town.
No, Owidi, let's be honest.
So,
from the airport, where were they going?
You are
honest,
with the police.
Honest.
From the airport, they were going home.
There was no rally that was planned.
Let's assume that the police had assumed they were not going home, right? Why don't you wait for the offense to be committed or an attempt to commit it? Then now you can intervene.
Maybe because...
Because these people were being beaten 200 meters from the airport. What did they want these people to do? Because the police should explain to them, we want you to leave this place, go straight to your homes. That was necessary. And then when you see they are not doing what the police has ordered them, then they can intervene. Look at the Jacaranda thing. The police just needed to cordon off that place if they really believed it was unlawful for those people to assemble there. But I said here, I think it was last Sunday, that there is no law that bars anybody for praying to their dead ones on the day a president is being sworn in. I am very sure very many of them went on throughout the country.
So you think the police should have allowed that gathering at Jacaranda?
In fact, it would have been so peaceful that nobody would have even talked about it the next day. But because the police intervened, and as usual, you know all that happened, including some things that I would not want to say on air, truckloads of what were poured on the field. Now that the day is over, have they gone back to remove it? They have not removed. The people living in that neighborhood cannot bear the stench.
Okay, I'd like us to listen to what NASA leader Raila Odinga had to say about the state of Kenya right now with that commendation from the president. Could we listen to that?
The wrong state. A state that has now gone rogue. A state that is killing its own innocent people.
Okay, so NASA leader Raila Odinga says this is a police state. Are those sentiments you share? What are your thoughts?
It is a police state.
Why is it a police
In fact, my verdict could have been worse than Raila Odinga's.
Why is it a police state? Or are we just making
because the police is being used to do the dirty jobs. In fact, what is happening here? The leaders are using the police to protect them. And they are in return also protecting the police from the atrocities they are doing to the people of Kenya. I have myself watched so many videos captured by mainstream media like yours, where policemen go, hide behind houses. When somebody comes out, they start beating them. It's like you are being beaten because you are coming from an area perceived to be a NASA stronghold. I saw in Kibera a policeman running, kicking a door right inside, then somebody pops out and they beat him. So what do they want? What does the police want? If they want to punish these people, then let go, arrest them, parade them at Uhuru Park, and then beat them, cane them, and tell them go back home. But the police definitely broke the law. Okay, there is no law that allows any policeman anywhere to punish anyone for a crime already committed.
Listen, so NASA says by praising the police who killed innocent Kenyans, Uhuru Kenyatta made himself accountable for the killings. If in his statement he had sort of mentioned, like you said, the lives that were lost in different areas of the country, would that have made a difference?
In fact, when I read that statement, there's nowhere where President Uhuru Kenyatta, through the person he had asked to write that letter, was regretting the very many deaths of Kenyan. Yet he knows very well none of the offenses committed during those riots warranted execution on site, warranted somebody to be sentenced to death by firing squad. No, none. I have watched in Europe and in America when the police can go put an armed person under siege for several hours, waiting to arrest, when they have the option of shooting them dead. That is a civilized nation. And it looks like President Uhuru Kenyatta has no intention of civilizing Kenya.
Why would you say that? Why would you say the president has
Because
no
if he had, he would have
Kenya?
commended the police for the job they did well, responding early to his calls, and for the nonsense they did, he should have reprimanded them. Why should a policeman shoot a Kenyan, especially one that for the public, on the court of public opinion, is sure cannot commit the offenses they are saying? That boy did not commit any offense. When a mother is carrying a child, anywhere, even if you found me in a bank and I'm queuing and you are a mother carrying a child, I will give you way. But here is a policeman seeing a mother carrying a child and still beating her. If the mother fell down with the child, assuming that he intended to avoid the child. And Kenya police has this thing of whatever the police is accused of, they deny. Even if we saw it on TV like we saw them throwing stone, a whole OCPD throwing stone at cars, then they still go and deny. If they can't deny, then they tell you, we are doing investigations. Please, it can't continue like that. So, we have to bring Kenya back to where it's supposed to be.
All right, so you mentioned that President Uhuru Kenyatta should have mentioned a couple of things
yes.
in that statement that he gave, commending the police for what they did. But then let's go back to his swearing in, and he sort of reached out, so to speak, to the opposition. Could we listen into what the president had to say when he was being sworn in for a second term?
The election was not a contest between a good dream and a bad dream. It was a contest between two competing visions. I believe that those who voted for me chose the better vision. This, however, does not invalidate the aspirations of those who did not vote for me. I undertake today to be the custodian of the dreams of all and to be the keeper of the aspirations of those who voted for me and those who did not. I will be president of all. And I will devote my time and energy to build bridges, to unite, and bring prosperity to all Kenyans.
All right, so that is President Uhuru Kenyatta. When he was being sworn in, he says he will be the president of all, those who voted for him and those who did not vote for him. For purposes of this conversation, we still have Odoyo Widi, who's a political analyst. We are waiting for Ambrose Weda, Kakai Kissinger, who's a lawyer, who's now, I think is now joining us online. Kakai, can you hear me? Okay, we're trying to see if we can get Kakai Kissinger on phone in a couple of minutes. Owidi, President Uhuru Kenyatta is reaching out. He's saying, guys, the electioneering period is over. Let's move on. This country has to go forward.
Linda, those are your words. Those are not the words of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Let me tell you.
Owidi, I undertake to be the custodian of the dreams of all and to be the keeper of the aspirations of those who voted for me and those who did not. I will be the president of all, and I will devote my time and energy to build bridges, to unite and bring prosperity to all Kenyans. That doesn't sound like someone who's reaching out to you.
When someone is speaking, I was taught that you read three things.
One.
You read what he's saying, you read his body language, and you read why he's saying so.
Okay, so far what
President
are you saying?
Uhuru Kenyatta had somewhere said, he talked about what Kenyans have gone through and gotten out of.
2007,
and in that statement, he included the coup in 1982. Okay. That is not a statement from somebody who needs reconciliation. Reconciliation, you don't make statements like you won and the other one didn't win. It was a contest between this vision and the other vision. The moment that he has now the prize in his pocket and you want reconciliation, you forget about the contest. You talk only about reconciliation. That is how I was taught. If he was taught differently, it is okay. But what I know, his body language is not the body language of somebody who has forgiven everyone and now wants reconciliation.
That was not a conciliatory tone.
No, that was not the tone.
Let me speak. Let me bring in Kakai Kisinja, who's a lawyer as well, is joining us on phone. Kakai, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
Fine. Listen, we are listening to snippets of what President Uhuru Kenyatta had to say when he was being sworn in for a second term. And with respect to that statement that he made, that he will be the president of all, those who voted for him, those who did not vote for him, basically just reaching out. I have Owidi Odoyo in studio with me. He's a political analyst. And he says that that was not a president who's reaching out. What are your thoughts?
I think if you listen to that speech very keenly, in fact, much later, I was able to read that speech in detail for almost a whole day, trying to internalize what actually the president meant. Now, when you look at and you understand that speech, the president was basically saying, look, the electoral contest is over, and now it's time for us to reconcile and go back to our political platforms and conceive the nation and try to make peace in terms of reconciliation. Now, you even remember that he went into details by giving us a history and an analogy in terms of we've been in worse positions before and we've come out of it. Now, how best do you expect a human being to come up with a statement of that kind of a nature if he's not willing to reconcile the nation? He went further and said that, look, I am a president of all Kenyans, whether you voted for me or you did not vote for me. So join me in hand, we build the nation. I understand that I have my manifesto, you have your manifesto. I won the election because Kenyan people voted for me. Bring your manifestos together, let's build the nation. So the speech was purely reconciliatory in nature because he understands as a president that there's always a political contest and political challenges. So I think what we need to be understanding is, one, is the leader at the moment. He is called out for reconciliation as Kenyans. Then let's come up together, unite and form the country, and unite and heal the nation. So I think the speech was very well coached, very well done, and he focused more in terms of what he wants to do for this country as per his manifesto.
Okay.
So I think that it's important to understand that there's right now we have a president who is willing to reconcile, and so let's not doubt so much, but let's join hands in terms of reconciling the nation. Whatever challenges we might have, political or otherwise, we are one people, we are one nation, and therefore we should reconcile the country.
Kakai, Odoyo says the fact that the president actually mentioned the coup, and then he mentioned 2007, he has a problem with that because he said that is not the kind of tone that someone wants to reconcile uses.
I think I'm a very good student of history. And when you repackage yourself, you have to ask yourself, why do you have to quote history? History is there because it's the past. History helps us to shape the future. The fact that the president talked about the 1982 coup, the fact that the president talked about the 2007-2008 election, we all remember what happened during the post-election violence, is a reminder for us that, look, we have been through difficult challenges and we've come out of it. The coup came, went, we learned lessons out of it. The 2007 and 2008 election was very important for Kenya because it's the kind of election that enables us as a nation actually conceive our new constitution. So it's very critical to talk about history and leave those things that belong to history in history, but focus on the lessons we learn out of history and ask ourselves what can we learn out of that history. So it's important to talk about history.
Kakai, stay online with me. I need to take a break. I'm coming back to talk about some other issues that happened during this particular week. So please stay online with me, Kakai. I need you to be part of this conversation probably till the end. Allow me to take that break here on Crossfire. We'll be back in a bit. Then I'll give Odoyo a couple of minutes to just respond to what Kakai had to say.